Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good, everyone? Y'all know what it is. It's me, your man Trey. You got the people's coach, Cornelius Cole, First Formation Morning Sports Talk. Can come on and fall in with us as we get to talking about what's been happening over the last couple of days in sports. Last we left you, we was looking at a whole different scenario in NBA. We was looking at two boxers looking to claim the undisputed champion of the heavyweight division. We was looking at a golfer that was basically had been locked up early that morning, only to be released, and more to follow. So a lot going on. What's going on, Coach? What's good with you this morning?
Man, Raider fans, I almost want to apologize. I mean, but wow. Some of the things, man, I just got to start the show off like that, Trey. Um, I opened my thumbs up on the Facebook thing and put up a post. I responded to a post that was on my feed. That's all I did. Next thing you know, I'm in a beef with all these Raider fans, like, and they haven't stopped. This happened like Friday night or something, and they haven't
Uh-huh.
stopped. Like today is Monday morning, and they still going. I'm like, whoa, Raider fans, lighten up. All I did was challenge y'all to be better. What's wrong with being better? You know, nah, it was a post. I'm sure some of y'all probably saw it, or you might have saw it. I don't know if you did, but it was about and it was a quote from Antonio Pierce saying that they're gonna smoke their cigars after every win. They're gonna play basket. They're gonna play their music loud in the locker room, and they're gonna shoot hoops in the locker room if they want to, because they the freaking Raiders, right? So my comment was simple: the Raiders that I knew used to kick butt. Like, so whatever happened to winning games? Why are we talking about smoking cigars and playing basketball in the locker room? That's all I was saying. Like, don't you want to win on the field? Oh, they was coming for my neck too. Like, hey, they was coming for my neck. They talked about my mama. I'm not even playing. I was like, yo, Raider fans, yeah, whoa, way too far. Like, I got a couple of little threats. Got some we don't like yous. Got some. I even got some. I even got some people, that did their homework. Evidently went to my stuff and saw I'm a Cowboy fan, so all that came into it. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all losing the playoffs every year. I'm like, but at least we're in the playoffs. That's my point. You're not even in the running. You're not even in the discussion.
Yes. So I mean, yes, Raider fans. I mean, that's the whole mystique of being Raider fans. That's like that whole mystique. Um, Basically put them in that position where like you got the black hole at the, so that's just them. And I mean, their reputation doesn't precede them. Is what it is. So it's definitely one of those things where if if you stepped in that hole, then it's a deep one, and
Yeah.
you're seeing first, and you're probably it's probably going to continue until the beginning of the season, and then they're probably going to be looking for you depending on what they do when they win and how and what they and what the Cowboys do. So it's definitely not over. You're definitely going to have to take that for the rest of the year.
I was like, my mama don't like. I was like, what you say about my mom? Like, I
You
was
know,
like,
yeah,
wow. Yeah, like, man, that was deep, dude.
yeah.
I was called a bum, all kinds of names, man. You just it's like, but it's so funny, man. Hey, Raider Nation, I just put the challenge out there to be better. That was it. Just be better.
So all from one next. Speaking of nations, right? So, like I said, over the course of the weekend, early in the evening, I guess you could say, because they were in Saudi Arabia, there was a fight, a challenge for what could presume as the undisputed champion uh, in the heavyweight division. As we know, that has been more of a thing in which Alexander Usyk took on Tyson Fury, And I don't know if you got a chance to catch any of it. I caught a little bit. Well, actually, I didn't get to see any of the fight because I had to leave to go to work before the fight came on. I caught some of the preliminary fights and on the main card. And I caught like glimpses of the rounds, particularly the 9th round. That might have been the difference once it was all said and done. But in state, Alexander Usyk ended up winning the bout by a split decision over Tyson Fury, having Tyson Fury his first loss as a professional. And Usyk goes on, and now he is the belts holder as he took those off him. So one thing that comes to mind, right, looking at this, is for roughly 2 years now, Alexander has been fighting for a whole country. Of course, we know Ukraine was invaded by Russia 2 years ago, in which currently are still enthralled in a battle, a war-torn country, in which is where Alexander Usyk lives and continues to live there. So you have a man fighting for a whole country, right? Chances are it's just not going to be. It's not an easy win in which you're going to walk away. We understand how Tyson Fury has won in the past. He probably skirted out just barely over Indominant, the UFC fighter turned boxer. He probably just got past him, honestly. And then of course we know he ended up going on to fight Joshua later on. So now, how do you even do that? Like, how do you expect to knock off a man fighting for his country? His country is on his back, literally. In that, so if it was a close fight. Of course, the judges scored it 113 or 114. One judge scored it in favor of Usyk. Another was scored at 114, 113 in favor of Tyson, and then Fury. And then of course the other one was scored 115, 112, in which gave Usyk the victory, in which I think the knockdown in the 9th round was probably what turned the tide, or what even gave it an opportunity, or it might have been a draw, or even Tyson might have walked away with it. But he was on him. He caught Tyson with a left, and after that, it kind of like he chased him all around the ring until he was able to drop him, and they go on the next 3 rounds, and after that, Usyk was victorious. Do you think he continues this reign? Probably next up is Joshua, maybe.
Yeah. And I think it's just because right now you ain't got too many good heavyweight fighters. Let's just be real. Fury getting up there in age. I can't believe he still want to fight. Like sometimes I think fighters, man, like they some of the bravest people, or either they just nuts or something, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, you keep taking that punishment after all those. You got nothing else to prove. You know what I mean? I get the whole undisputed thing, but it's like, hey, uh, Usyk is Usyk's time. Uh, Fury's had his time. And after the fight, Fury was like he thought he did enough. Well, obviously the judges didn't think you did enough. I mean, what do
That
you
part.
really think you did enough? You know what I mean? Like, so that's how you know it's time to retire when you clearly, uh, like fighters of old would be like, yo, it was brutal in there. I took a beating, but if your first words are, "I think I did enough to win the fight," yeah, I think you done. I think his statement proves that hey, it's time to retire. It's time to move on, do something else. I know it's hard to give up your profession after you've been doing it a while, but man, it's time to do something else.
So
I'm a judge.
keep
You know what I'm saying?
keep it
Judge the fight.
keep it in the in the boxing arena. I'm not gonna call them gimmicks, but what we do is we have 2 fights coming up. Of course, we already know on Netflix is going to be showing the Tyson versus Paul fight, in which most people aren't in agreement with. I know you being one of them. But what about this one that's going to be next month in June, which former UFC champion Anderson Silva is going to be fighting Chanel Sonnen in a boxing match in Brazil, as this will be the last fight in which Silva has. I guess he's hanging it all up. He's currently had 5. This will be his 5th boxing match since he retired from the UFC in 2020. Sonnen has not boxed in the box yet, although he did retire fighting his last fight in 2019 after he left UFC, and he fought at a couple of fights at Bellator. But like I said, Silva is basically 2-2-1, 2-1-1-1, with his only loss coming to a split decision versus Paul 2 years ago. So now they're going to be fighting June of next year. What do you think about the crossover, I guess you could say, in this sports? Now it's a little bit different. It's not a boxer versus a UFC fighter. It's 2 UFC, ex-UFC fighters that are going to box. Is that a little more, does that better suited for you as opposed to a UFC boxer and a boxer?
No, I think it's okay if that's what you want to do, but that's how sad the state of boxing is, eh? That these guys are crossing over into your sport and taking headlines. I mean, the joke fight, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
Tyson and the Paul thing, man. Like like Fury and Usyk, the undisputed. That's probably the last good fight you go see for a while because you see what they're doing now. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not mad at you crossing over. 2 former UFC fighters want to cross over and fight boxing. They probably can't kick no more and get on the ground no more. Like, though, that's probably over, right? And we saw Silver take some of the most serious punishment in that UFC. So boxing is probably a good thing for him. But to go out like that, and he said this is his last fight. Well, go out, do what you do. I'm not mad at them for crossing over, but I'm saying like that's why boxing is not taken serious no more. I mean, I heard a reference. As a matter of fact, I heard a reference in the basketball game last night. I think it was Jamal Crawford referencing the Crawford Spence fight, like
Mm-hmm.
saying that game was the kind of fight that you thought you was gonna see between those two, but it didn't materialize, right? Like boxing's
Mm-hmm.
becoming a joke, and we've been seeing it for the last decade or so. That it's really becoming a joke, right? Like scenario, um, scenario. What's it gonna matter if uh Silva and this guy beat each other up in Brazil, or who wins that fight? Is it gonna have a bearing on the undisputed or any weight class? I mean, you feel what I'm saying? That's why it's a joke.
Uh-huh.
Like it's not gonna have any bearing on anything, right? And then take the same thing with the Tyson and Jake Paul fight. What is it worth? Tyson's 57 years old, so Jake Paul is in a no-win situation, right? If he gets beat up by Mike Tyson, everybody gonna be like, "Hang it up! You got beat up by a 57-year-old dude." If he beats the crap out of Mike Tyson, then everybody like, "Yo, you beat up a senior citizen." So what's the point? I mean, do you feel what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a no-win for Jake Paul. I mean, I guess the only thing is publicity out of these fights, right? Because what are they going to gain? Nobody's going to be the champions or anything like that or make championship strides off these fights. So that's what I'm saying. Boxing's becoming a joke. Like, get back to the real stuff where, what a fighter's at, what a real boxer's at.
And
You
like I
know,
think it's just like
probably,
you said.
hiding in Mayweather spot or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? What a real fighter's at, hide with Mayweather.
So it's I think it's definitely one of those things where it's just entertainment at this point. You're really being entertained, in which a lot of people are getting into it. As we see, the zone took what was expected to just be an exhibition, and then turned it into a whole thing where now they're streaming some of the top fights in the game. Then you have people like Thriller and stuff like that. Coach Kings it says money took over. So you have people now that are out there like Triller and stuff like that, or different promotions that have made their way into it by getting the lesser known people and kind of like getting them views, and then next because their views are up now, they're getting days in which they're being put on cards and stuff like that and being reached out to. So I think it maybe is just like Coach King said, the money has taken over to where what's lucrative or has some type uh, of balance to where it's going to bring in the payday is what's starting. So people are getting the chance to see. It's almost like pay per view you get a chance to see what it is that you pay for. You might not like it, and some people are going to watch because they want to see the train wreck or they want to see what's going to come of it. And I guess that's where you can say where it's at this point.
I'm just like, hey, if it's worth, I'm just saying, like, if you're a boxer, it's like how I was saying about about the younger core of rappers or whatever, not speaking up for themselves when they talk about these old head rappers. Same thing, man. Like, the real boxers should be offended. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, come on, let's just be real. There's gonna be a lot of us tuning in to see that Tyson fight, right?
Yeah, especially
There's
on
gonna be a lot of
Netflix.
us.
You ain't got to pay much.
Let's keep it real. It's gonna be a lot of people tuning in to see that fight. It's gonna be a lot of people tuning in to see the Silver fight too. Um, and yeah, I guess you're right. It's all entertainment and it's all about money. But yeah, I just wish they go back to and then ain't that something though? Like that's what I was saying to the Raider fans. Like y'all used to be, your team used to be feared. People used to fear the Raiders. Now they're a joke like Mike Tyson, right? Now you're a punchline like Mike Tyson. Like nobody's scared of Mike Tyson no more. Mike? Everybody used to be scared of Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Like everybody used to be scared of this guy. Now nobody's scared of this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like remember before he went to prison, Holyfield, they didn't even want to fight him. Nobody wanted to fight him. You know what I mean? Before he went to prison. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
that's where he lost
Like
his edge, honestly.
like nobody wanted to fight him. You know what I'm saying? Like now it's like this guy's a joke, man. It's like wow. Like it's funny how the decades and stuff change. You know what I'm saying? Like I still wouldn't want to run up on him. But I'm just saying, like I wouldn't want to run up on him, but man, wow. Have you ever seen anybody like anything like that though? You go from being like one of the most feared people on the planet to like a joke.
So I won't say he's necessarily a joke at this point. He might be doing clownish things like this, Paul. But of course, again, entertainment, money being made for the most part. But it doesn't, like, he's already a Hall of Famer at this point. It's not going to affect his legacy whether he wins or lose in this space. You think so? I don't think it affects his legacy at all.
I don't think that's what I'm saying. Like, what does it work? Like, he's 57. Like I said, if he beats Jake Paul is the only one with something to win and lose in this whole thing. Like I'm just saying, but it's a lose-lose situation for Jake Paul. Like, like, hey, you beat up a 57-year-old man. Like, people gonna be like, they coming for your neck, like beat me. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be people coming out of the woodwork like, hey, you beat up, Mike. Like remember when um Tyson took out his thing on Larry Holmes for beating Ali. You know what I'm saying? Like Jake Paul gonna get some of that kind of smoke. So I think that maybe that's what it's worth. Like if Jake Paul actually wins this fight, we'll probably get to see Jake Paul fight uh, some other
Top
known fighters.
move up in
You know
talent.
what I mean? Who knows? Roy Jones might come out of retirement. Just playing.
So when you look at it, right, I don't think it's a full lose for Jake for Paul, but what has to happen, and I would think it just sit up and thinking about it. What would have to happen is it has to be a formidable fight. Like Tyson has to show that he wasn't looking like a senior citizen. 57 years old, he has to show that he didn't look like a 57-year-old man. At minimum 30 to 40, if you look at it, like, okay, he's moving like he's a 34-year-old boxer, you know what I'm saying, who's had a 10, 20-year career, a 34-year-old boxer. That's what he has to move like and has to perform like. And for if Paul is to beat him, if Paul beat him to where he can sit up and say, like, okay, it wasn't that he just came out and dominated this 57-year-old in state. It has to be like what, like, people continue to talk about what you see of Tyson in those videos, in his training videos. That's what you need to see of him in the actual ring. And then you need to see Jake Paul countering that. And if you can see that, then you might think, okay, it wasn't as bad as we really thought it was. If you don't see that and you just see Paul get demolished, or if you see Paul do the demolishing of it, because you got to think like the mystique that we have of Mike Tyson is just that. And that's the conversation is that mystique that we have with Mike Tyson. So with that being said, is even the only saving for Paul is if Tyson puts on a good showing. If he doesn't put on a good showing, then it's not going to go. It's not going to go too well for Paul. Like you said, win or lose, it's just going to be. It might amount to that lose-lose situation, minus the fact of he gains some type of monetary gain once it's all said and done.
Now, I know he fought a few fights after that and stuff, but man, my last image of Tyson in the ring really was when he got beat up by Lennox Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Like he was so unprepared for that fight, and he was covering up, cowering in the corners and stuff. I just never seen. I mean, like yeah. I hope we don't see that again. I'm just saying, like he
No,
was
I
all
don't think that
covering
would be that.
up. He was,
Yeah.
like that's my last image of Tyson fighting, like really. So I just look at it like, man, I hope it's nothing like that. I hope it's nothing like the Lennox Lewis fiasco, because like Tyson covering up, heroin and stuff, man. Kind of deep.
Thorough beating. So moving on to uh another type of sport. Of course, let's get into the sisters of the NBA. That's the WNBA. In which
Congratulations to the Shot Towns guy for being, them to crack the W column.
of course it has because the other ones, the Sparks, are still without a W, which is going to be hard sledding. Of course, when they went up against the Las Vegas Aces, who was, in my opinion, the creme de la creme. They're the top dog in the league.
But y'all have a player, Hamby. I don't know how to say her name.
Hamby,
I think that's her name. Wow, she can ball.
DeAndre Hamby.
She can ball. Um, man, she actually played real well against the Aces.
Well, that
I
was
think
our
where
old
y'all
team.
fall, yeah, I think where y'all fall short is y'all don't have good guards on y'all team. Like lots of turnovers in that second half of that game that changed that game. Significant turnover because the Sparks was in that game the whole time. Like it wasn't like it was a blowout. It was just that. And then, but I will say this: Brink played excellent defense for the most part. Um, she just ain't ready all the way yet, but yeah, she actually played really good defense. Like y'all should be excited about that. Like she an excellent rim protector. Like early on in that game, she was giving Asia Wilson fits, but then Asia figured some things out, and
Dude,
like Asia
Asia
didn't shoot
did.
well in the beginning,
Asia did what MVPs do.
right? Like after a while, she just took over, and it was nothing that they could do with her. Yeah, she got so many and ones, man. I was like, wow, you gotta quit fouling her now. But give it up to the Sparks. They look like they're gonna be a tough team before it's all said and done.
So we got Isaiah Cook and Nakia Sparks and Kia Sparks. I mean Nurse, that are still there on the team. So our guards aren't the worst. Compared to some of the other ones when you take in considerations out there, but of course they're not the plums and the and like that. But I mean, I think like you said, we should get at some point we should be able to hopefully overcome and kind of like figure it out and get back in there. 0-2 currently on the year. The Aces are 2-0, of course, expected. Not to mention the Aces are set the WNBA record for sellouts of 20 games. They have sold 20 home games. 15 of the 20 home games they have is sold out. So of course, saying paid admission, the Aces are that. On the upside the spectrum, talking about the Fever, every game they only have 3 games on the year in which they are still without a W.
Oh,
But all 3 of the games are sold out. Every game, all
boy,
3
they're
games are
gonna
sold
continue
out.
to sell out. They're gonna continue to sell out because it's Caitlin Clark. Everybody wants to see her play. She actually played well in that game as far as turnovers. She had turnovers, but she shot well. Um, as a matter of fact, her team is so sorry. I think she shot 50% from three. They at one point I heard they was like the rest of her team was like she was like of 8 from three. The rest of her team was like 1 for 11, 1 for 12, 1 for whatever. Like Aaliyah Boston, I thought she was better than how she been playing early on. Like, you know what I mean? I thought Leah Boston was better than that. Um, Caitlyn seemed a little bit behind the game at times. She got to realize that until you get fully acclimated to the speed and all that stuff, you got to cut out some of those um, angles on your passes and stuff. Your teammates ain't on the same page with you, and you know you would think after the third or fourth turnover, Trey, she would realize that. You know what I mean? That, hey, your team ain't on the same page as you, so stop with the fancy passing and let's just go back to the
Just yeah,
basics.
just regular passes. Yeah. So and then we got to take into consideration it was only an 11-point loss on that Saturday, but they played against the Liberty. So the Liberty, for the most part, at this point, it could be seen as the aces of the East in a sense. So it was just unfortunate that the first two games of the Fevers, 3 games was against the Liberty. 2 of them was against the Liberty. And then, of course, we know the first game they had was against the Connecticut Sun. That was no pushover either. So just as you were saying, 40% from the field. Caitlin Clark shot 4 for 10 from 3-point, 9 for 17, however, field goal for on her field goal percentage. But she did drop 22 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, and 1 steal in that, in which she cut down on the turnovers by 2 compared to what she did in the first night. So she's collecting, like you said, definitely got to slow down because she done collected about 21, 23 turnovers in 3 games.
Lots of turnovers.
Yeah, that's a good amount of turnovers over a 3 game period. She's almost averaging. What's going on, Dale? Good morning. Glad to have you
Good morning,
information with us.
Sam. Good morning.
So it's one of those things where definitely like she's almost at a 10 turnover average in 3 games, in which we expect to see that come down a little bit. Especially like you said, as our teammates start to acclimate, they acclimate to one. So I don't want to say the teammates acclimate to her, but of course it goes both ways. So as they both get acclimated, they should be able to kind of like figure it out and get back to it to where it's not a complete loss at this point. 0-3, in which honest, funny to be said, Aaliyah Boston was last year's WNBA Rookie of the Year. So that is one thing you can say. That means that that the Fever weren't good the year before that when they got Aaliyah, and so now they were first to get Caitlyn, and so it's like, and we're still seeing some of this stuff. Like honestly, when you take a look at it, so evidently they weren't too good before that and aren't good now. But maybe some of that, as we are very sure we will definitely talk about later on, maybe some of that magic from their big brothers in the big league will rub off on them. They might start to put something together. But yeah, I mean, you got to take into consideration they played against the Liberty. I understand everyone in the league at this point, everyone that's on that's able to have their name in the box score is a professional, and there should be is no excuses in that matter.
I don't have no sympathy. Like, hey, this is what you chose to do. You got to go through the aches and pains. Like, you know, you've seen the best
So
have to go through it, right?
and but maybe something turns as 2 games slated for night in the WNBA. One being the both of them at 6:00. The Fever get the running back versus the Connecticut Sun. So their first 4 games are basically against the same two opponents, in which there was better and better for the most part. So maybe we don't see another 10 turnover game versus the Sun. And Carrington, as she locked down Caitlin Clark, maybe Caitlin Clark gets the opportunity to go over, watch the tape, and be able to see, like, hey, this is what I got to do to be successful against the team and this defender. And then, of course, on the other side of the spectrum, Brianna Stewart returns back to where gets to see the team to where it all started at, just a different cast, as the Seattle Storm will be taking on the New York Liberty in the NY at 6:00. 3-0 versus 1-2, and 2-0 versus 0-3. We'll see if any of the teams with the O in front of on the win column, on the loser column, can get a dub tonight. So that's going to be seen.
I don't see it.
It's not going to happen.
The Fever gonna be over 4. Yeah, because like from what I've seen so far, like I said, it's not just a Caitlin Clark thing; it's a team thing, man. Like you ain't got no shooters on that team. Like they miss so many wide open shots. They miss layups. Like wow. Like yeah, they miss a lot of layups right at the rim, um, which is kind of I don't know. Like sometimes they by themselves under there and they can't make the layups. Like that team is struggling. Um,
So something that's a little newsworthy, golf. I'm not a huge golf fan, but I do partake and check it out sometimes. But I mean, like I said, newsworthy things. As Alexander Shafel was able to slay the beast, as we all know, as we discussed briefly on Friday, we know he was arrested outside of Valhalla Golf Club due to a traffic and supposedly a second degree assault of an officer and everything like that. Booked, bailed, bonded out, and then goes on to Instate Sunday win his first PGA championship. The two-time Masters champion was able to hit and win by 6 under after he actually did well on Friday. He kind of fell back down to reality as he was 2 over on the Sunday and then came back, on Saturday, and then came back on Sunday to hit a 6 over par, which basically gave him the win. Do you think there was some how do I want to put it? You say political. Do you think he was granted certain privileges in
I
wake
think it was
of his?
white privilege in the situation. Yeah, I think it was white privilege in the situation. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think it was white privilege in the situation because most people would have been locked up from that case. But I also think it comes with him, the notoriety of him being a golfer or whatever, him
Or
being in
during,
this
yeah, for what it is.
I mean, and at the same time, like, ain't this the irony of certain stuff? Now we know what's required nowadays of police officers and stuff, but ain't it kind of suspicious that it was none of them officers had on a body cam, no body cam footage? You know what I'm saying? Hey, not trying to be
So,
funny in America, not trying to be funny in America, but look at this. They got footage of they got footage of Diddy from 2016, but you mean to tell me none of these officers in 2024 had on body cams? Yeah, just saying.
so even let's even remove the white privilege aspect of it, which could have been at play. Do you think it was also the fact of, because true enough, like you said, it had to been Tiger Woods or any other minority that the golfing that was a golfing savant at the time in which something like that would have happened? Do you think that people, executives from broadcasting companies and stuff like that get into the fray because you're messing up their ratings? Like, this person is not going to be there.
Stop. Tiger, they took away all Tiger's sponsorship because he cheated on his wife, which half of them was doing anyway. Most of them doing anyway. I mean, think about that. Seriously. You know what I'm saying? So the bar is different, man. The bar is gonna always be a little different. I mean, it's like, yo, this dude was fighting with police. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then catch a beat down. He was still able to swing the golf club. He ain't got no broken ribs, no nothing. I mean, I'm just saying, we know how it would have went if it was one of us. I mean, I don't even want to go there. I want to leave that alone. You know what I'm saying? Like for real, because yeah, it's a lot of peculiar things that happen with that case. Like I said, no body cam, no footage, and then you outside of a golf of a country club. They got cameras. There was some
Yeah.
cameras somewhere.
So
There was some
basically, saying
cameras
some
somewhere.
footage was caught from somewhere, basically, in your opinion.
Yeah, it was some footage somewhere. Yeah, everybody be having phones these days. Like, stop it. It's some footage somewhere, and I'm just gonna wait for the footage to come up because it's gonna pop up eventually. You're gonna have some footage somewhere.
So moving on, of course, let's get into the NCAA football aspect, right? So of course, we all know that the spring has went and came, in which the players have got their opportunity to kind of like mesh with one another and get into that. So of course, checking out ESPN this morning, I was able to catch what they perceive as the post spring top 25 rankings, in which we all know that we tend to put a lot or somewhat of a lot of emphasis into rankings when we talk about rankings, taking a look at rankings. In this case, if I was to ask you, who do you think is number 1 and who is number 25, what 2 teams would you give me in a post?
One to 25.
Just one. No, just give me one number 1 and who you think might be the 25th.
Okay, number one's got to be like Michigan or somebody. Like, I would go Michigan number one, and number two. I mean, number 25. It's got to be somebody like Missouri or something. An SEC team, Missouri.
That's interesting. So you said Michigan and Missouri. So in this particular ranking, your team, the 2 teams in which you said are in the top 25, just not where you said they are. So of course, the first being Michigan. Michigan in this post spring break is number 10. They're number 10. Missouri is number 8.
Whoa, 8?
Yes, 8. Michigan is 10. Missouri is 8. Now, from the question to answer the question which I asked you, the number 1 team in the post-spring postseason ranking, top 25 ranking, number 1 is Georgia.
I forgot about them.
Followed by, of course, at number 2, Ohio State, 3, the Texas Longhorns, number 4, the Oregon Ducks, and then the Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming at 5. Now, the 25th ranked team is USC.
25th? Oh, that's why you harping on it. Nah, I see the 6.
No, I said 1 to 25, the top and bottom.
25, yeah, I know. I'm so USC. I'm surprised they that low, but it kind of makes sense with them switching over right now to the Big Ten or whatever. But yeah, I like the fact that the Longhorns are number 3. I like that. Go Longhorns. Hopefully, we show out in the SEC. First year in the SEC. Hopefully, they show out and put on a big, but 3. But I'm surprised at USC, to be honest. 25. I figured they'd be somewhere 15, 16, somewhere in there, maybe even 12 or whatever. And then Notre Dame is always, every year they hype up the Fighting Irish, and then we gonna see them plummet anyway.
So yeah, so it's unfortunate. But I mean, everything happens for a reason, of course. Everything happens for a reason, and in which in this case the same thing happened to us. Now basically what you're looking at is going forth and just trying to take care and handle business, because we put ourselves in a bad situation.
Question.
Yes.
Is Colorado on that list?
No, Colorado is not on this list.
Exactly. I thought that. I was like, they better not be.
No, because you got to think a lot of stuff has happened to Colorado since they in this off season. I think more has happened than it has worse. I mean, more people leaving has been.
I'm seeing people leaving everywhere, Trey. I'm not just
true. That's Colorado. True.
I'm seeing people leaving everywhere, right? Like some of these top recruits are decommitted from these schools, right?
Correct. Matter of fact, you just had a 5-star receiver from the decommit from LSU this morning.
Right, from LSU. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just Colorado. Like, it's a lot. I don't know what all that stuff has to do with, but yeah, I see a lot of these top recruits saying, I picked this school, but now I'm going here.
So there's been a report that has came out that says 1 in 3 star athletes receive abuse and threats from bettors. So this morning you just talked about you might not have received death threats or anything like that or threats, but there was some abusive conversation back and forth. What with that being said, can you believe, saying that this type of stuff goes on?
Yeah, especially when it comes to how much money you betting and losing. Man, have you seen real gamblers? Like, it's a lot of sore losers in that field. So yeah, I can see the threats and stuff happening when certain star players don't perform, or and they always blame it on the star players, right? It's always the star players that they go after. They don't go after the teams, right? You going after the star. Hey, you better pick it up. Hey, you cost me a bunch of money, right? You know, um, remind me of a line from a song back in the day. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? Lost bets on Lakers or whatever that line big said. You know what I'm saying? Gas off Shaq. You know what I'm saying? It's on Lakers. So yeah, I just think it's sport is better. It gets serious, especially when you like certain amounts of money. You got people betting millions of dollars. You got people betting a few dollars, but you got people betting millions of dollars. And when the stakes get that high, yeah, there's gonna be some threats, which is crazy in my opinion because hey, you can't control what happens out there. You putting your money down and you taking those chances, but hey, some people don't like the way those chances come about. What was the movie back in the days with De Niro? Was it called The Fan when he kidnapped the hockey player or whatever? He kidnapped the player.
Your fan.
Yeah, ain't that what that was called? The Fan. Yeah, man. You know, like it's just crazy when stuff keep happening in real life, though, right? All those threats.
And so I guess, yeah, I mean, definitely. And which I and from a I'm not necessarily a better. I have always been a person that says, I'm sorry. I have always been a person that says that I kind of more so I look to if I do any type of wagering or anything like that, my odds have to be pretty good based off of what I believe for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna take a chance on this. So if I
It's
so
some
I
people.
never
Go ahead.
go ahead.
It's because there's some people that just do long shots, the opposite of what you're talking about. They only bet on the long shot. Knowing you have no
That's where
chance
the
of winning
money's
a
at.
lot of those long
Yeah,
shots,
yeah.
but still, knowing
That's
you
where the money.
have very slim chance of winning, they bet on the long shot.
So as we oh, you know what? I didn't even set it back up. So last week we started taking a look and went and discussed the schedule release. So we went over a couple teams, looked at the NFL's uh list on what they perceive as win totals, in which for the most part we had a couple that was maybe the same. As we looked at it, of course, I said I believe that one of the teams is going to have lesser one game less than expected. You believe that I think that was Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is not going to be as good as what everyone's making it out to be. You believe they're going to be um formidable 10 wins. So far everyone was on the 10 wins. Uh so of course, as I have to go back and pull it up, we're going to go
Well,
over. Go ahead, I'm listening.
before we, but 10 like 10 wins might not get you in the AFC this coming season. 10 wins might not even get you in the playoffs, right? So you're gonna probably need 11 or more to really solidify a spot. Unless that might be good enough. Maybe 10 wins might win you the AFC South again, but I
Hmm.
don't see. I mean, you know what I mean. But overall, I don't think. I think the rest of the competition is gonna be stiff. So you got to set your bar at 11 and 12 wins if you're in the AFC because that's going to be the going rate, especially if if that conference lives up to all the expectations. You got so many teams. You got so many teams that's going to be fighting for those playoff spots this year because you're looking to add the Chargers to the mix, right? Like if Harbaugh, you projecting Harbaugh, maybe the Broncos might actually do something, in Peyton's second year or something. I mean, I'm just saying, in addition to the teams it was already a tough conference. You see how it ended last year. That race for those final spots was tough. And then when you're talking the whole AFC North, I mean, if you're talking the whole AFC North, that's 4 spots right there, and there's only 7 spots. So it's like you know, it's gonna be a cluster. You know what to try to get in the AFC. So if you Joe Burrow, then your expectations got to be 11 or 12 wins, right? Or your bar got to be there somewhere in order just to solidify a spot. Because I ain't even mentioned Miami going, like Miami's supposed to be tough again. The AFC East might rise, and then Aaron Rodgers coming back. I'm not sold on the Jets, but hey, you never know what the Jets are gonna do. I mean, I'm just saying, but all these projections, man, we talking about 10 teams fighting for 7 spots, 12 teams, 11 teams, 12 teams fighting, and that's out of what, a total of 16 teams in the whole conference. So you look at it, 3/4 of the conference probably being tough.
So getting into that, right? So last week we discussed the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Texans, your beloved Texans. Today, I'd like to take a different look at a couple of teams. One being the Ravens. One, of course, my 49ers. Your your Cowboys, and then let's say
I was like, don't
Bishop
cut me like that,
Eagles.
the Eagles.
Bishop's Eagles for the most part. So first off, of course, with the Baltimore Ravens, they're expected to be a 10-win team coming off of having the best overall record in the NFL last year. Of course, they have added some pieces and moved on from some as well. So of course, first off, in their trek in the beginning, out the gate, they got the Kansas City Chiefs, in which we discussed that. I think that I can't remember. I think the Ravens are victorious in this game. I just think that it's due to the situations that's going on in Kansas City. That is going to be kind of heartfelt for them to overcome and face, especially if, like we both know, both teams had defenses. They both. What's going on, Joe? Glad to have your information with us this morning, brother. Of course, owner of the MBR Military Broadcasting Radio. Look forward to it as well. So when you talk about it, right, the Kansas City Chiefs are at this point, I think they're in a little flux. I mean, they got plenty of time, but saying some things are as I see a look. I say that because they still have to put together their wide receiver room was once going to be heralded, and now it's in a little bit of shambles due to the situation with Rice and all that. And then it just had a situation where Rice and Hollywood was hanging out with I forgot the rapper's name, and then he was arrested down in Jacksonville. He was arrested and taken in because he was a felon with a weapon charge. So now you have saying just different things that are distractors are being thrown around in that organization. We haven't heard anything, if there is anything. The last thing I seen was that all the some of the players from the Baltimore Ravens was at the Preakness, saying politicking and chilling together. So saying it's things like that in which when you look at it, it might take a little bit for Kansas City to get back in tune and to sit up and play against. Yes, they beat the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship game last year. Both teams are supposed to be defensive stalwarts on juggernauts, in which only one team showed up to be that. But I think out the gate, I think Kansas City is going to take an L to that. I don't think they're going to be Baltimore out the gate. It's probably going to be a good game. Hopefully, you get a good game. We know how it all goes out when it comes down to Thursday night games. But this Thursday night game, I think to start the season off September 5th, I think it's going to be a good one. So in that case, I give the L to Kansas City. So that's 1-0 for Baltimore. The Raiders 2-0. Dallas Cowboys at the D. Being that it's at the D, I might give them this one right off the rip. So I give them that the Dallas Cowboys. At this time, later on, I might change it because we have to take in consideration knowing what we know about the Cowboys and how they're doing, especially when now we know they have to kind of reinvent their run game and stuff like that. They're going to have receivers. And then see how they
one question. Why does everybody think the Cowboys are in so much trouble? We got the same team that was 12-5 last year, minus the running back that didn't do nothing for us, minus Pollard. That's the only thing we missing. We ain't missing nothing else. Like, hey yo, we got another good cornerback. Gilmore ain't gonna be there. Okay, Big deal. Like he didn't show up in the postseason and later games anyway. He was hurt and he older. Like yo, we went younger. I don't understand why the Cowboys are taking so much flack when hey yo, we just running it back. We doing the same thing that the 49ers doing, running it back with our core players that we had already.
We are
We doing
not
the
the
same
same.
thing.
We are
Man, y'all
not
are
the
the same,
same.
man. Man, y'all the same team. Y'all
So,
got Purdy.
so
Y'all got Purdy.
no, I'm
You
saying,
know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like
saying the
they got
Cowboys and
Purdy in the
49ers are not the same. I'm saying the
y'all
Cowboys
got
and
the
49ers are not the same.
no. I'm not saying we the
I'm
same
not
in
we're the
nothing, but
same,
I'm
but
saying
the
we
teams aren't the
running it
same.
back.
No,
I'm
so
just
okay,
saying
let's see.
like and yo, history has proven that when teams grow together and get beat down, look, Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, all those heralded Cowboys that everybody be talking about, the Charles Haley's and Deion Sanders. Well, Deion Sanders wasn't a part of that, but I'm saying those core players, Nate Newton and all them, they went 1-15 and then won 3 out of 5 Super Bowls. Yo, they took the lumps upside the head. Sometimes you got to take those lumps. You got to take them. Like, for real. Like, yo,
So when I get to
we
the
trying to win
Cowboys,
2 or 3.
when I get to the
You know what I'm
Cowboys,
saying?
when we get to the Cowboys, I'm going to point out, I'm going to cover every point that you just said. I'm going to still be so I'm going to save that ammo for that one. But I will give the Cowboys presumably this W for this week. So I would say that's 2-1, only because they're going to be a D town and coming off a game against the Raiders, in which if the Raiders are going to be the team that we think Coach Antonio Pierce is going to make them, then that's probably going to be a hard-fought game. So to go to D-Town in Irving and have to deal with the Cowboys team at home in Jerry's World is going to probably be a little. So I give them 3-2-1. Buffalo Bills coming off a Cowboys loss, and maybe Buffalo. I haven't seen who they got for third, but that could probably be problematic. That's too early. I do think they're going to, as I said during talking going over the Bengals, I do think they're going to probably get swept by the Ravens. So of course this is 3-2. The Commanders, I don't think are going to be ready yet. 4-2. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-2. Cleveland Browns, 6-2. Denver Broncos, 7-2. The Bengals again, 8-2. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they might catch them slipping. Just on paper, we don't know yet. I give 8-3. The Los Angeles Chargers, Harbaugh, I don't think will be there yet as far as, especially in week 12, depending upon, of course, this is only on paper right now, but, Harbaugh might have him clicking by then. But I'm going to give them 9-3. The Eagles in Baltimore, 10-3. The Giants, 11-3. The Steelers coming running back 11-4. The Texans in week 17, I think by then it might be a little rest factor. The Texans might already be in contention, already have earned the a playoff berth, so it might dumb it down a little unless they're in competition for a number 1 seed, in which now we're talking about probably 14. I give them 15 not 15 14 in 2, no, 13 in 3, and then of course the last one, the Cleveland Browns, I think they get that, so they might end up with once again with a top record with the number 1 seed for the most part.
I don't think so.
No, that's too much. No,
I
14-3.
I think the other teams in their division caught up. So I'm looking at maybe 12-5. I mean, I see a
12-5.
couple of losses. Like, look, they gonna lose 3 games in their division. Like, they gonna split 3-3. Like, they play 6 games against those opponents. Like, I think they're gonna lose to each one of those teams. They're gonna lose to the Bengals, they're gonna lose to the Browns, and they're gonna lose to the Steelers. At least 1 game. I mean, I think that's how close those teams are. Like, the Browns ain't no joke. They got a great defense. Um, and the Browns played them close. Pittsburgh, they split with Pittsburgh last year. Pittsburgh swept them or won. They didn't beat. Pittsburgh was tough. You know what I mean? When they played them, like those teams play each other and they beat each other up all the time. So I'm looking at 3 losses right there, and then I'm giving them a loss against my Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? So that makes 4 losses right there, and then they probably gonna lose. Look, they probably gonna lose to. They'll probably lose to the Eagles. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at about 12-5 or something, or vice versa. I think they will beat the Chiefs right out the gate, like you said, because I don't think the Chiefs really care. And to piggyback off, well, to go back to man, we're not worried about the Chiefs wide receiver room. I think they showed you that since Tyreek Hill left, that's all people been talking about, and all they continue to do is win and show you that they can win without receivers. So stop doubting the Chiefs until the Chiefs give you reason to doubt. That's when you should doubt. But so far they've been managing that like rather well, you know. Yeah, but I think the Ravens. I see 12-5 in ACC.
12-5. So moving on to the Eagles, right? So I wish, of course, Bishop was here. I'm very sure he'll be able to catch this, and anything that we might say that might be perceived as slander is not slander. It's all personal.
It's all slander because I'm a Cowboy fan, so it's no love for the Eagles. It's no love.
So of course, right? So of course, starting out the regular season, out the rip, the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, first and foremost, NFL has their projection as 11 wins. Right? They have the Eagles as a level one team.
11 wins.
11 wins.
What were they last year? Were they 10-7 last year?
They were 10-7 last year. So they have them 11 years this year, as well as they have them the second best team in the NFC this year with that win total. So we're gonna see who the first one is. But so week one, they start out with Green Bay out the blocks. This is the Brazil game playing overseas.
That's an L. They take an L right now. Yeah, they losing the game.
I don't know. I'm gonna give them this one because Green Bay is gonna be if it was either in the tundra. I mean, it's not the tundra during this time frame, but if it was at home, it might be different. But I think the Eagles have been that great when it comes to playing abroad. And I think without having an opportunity, it's a 50-50. But if I was to flip a coin, I think my coin would land on tails, in which it would be the Eagles. So I give the Eagles the first one coming out the gate, 1-0. Second game, Atlanta Falcons in Philadelphia. I'm going to get into the Falcons. I'm going to get into the Falcons.
Eagles winning that game. No, the Eagles winning that game, man. Stop it.
This is why I give it to the Falcons, right? Because I think that the Eagles are their current secondary. They're going to be 2 games in. I think their secondary is currently a little hobbled. So when you got the 1-2 punch of Algiers and Robinson that's going, and then you have formidable offensive players in your wide receiver room. A mismatch in Pitts that can go move out to wide out. I think it's going to be a little much for the Eagles defense at that point. I actually would have gave them a loss in the first game, but it's Jordan Love, and they just retooled their whole offense, and that's the only reason I think the difference is.
I think Jordan Love go ball out.
You think so?
Weak secondary. Against that weak secondary, we going over the top, baby. You know what I'm saying? We're going over the top. We going downfield.
I mean, they got Romeo Dobbs and stuff like. I don't know. That's the only difference in it. So I actually think Atlanta upsets the Philadelphia Eagles. The first game, the second game of the season. So that's 1-1, 2-1 because they have the Saints in week 2. Correction, 2-1 Saints in week 2. Week 3, Tampa Bay. A conference game. I think they're going to actually split, but I think the Tampa Bay is going to be bested on this one. So 3-1, Cleveland Browns. In Lincoln, so it's going to be in Philly. I would only because it's going to be in Philly. I would give them that. So that's the 4-1. The Giants 5-1. The Bengals, I think they're going to get bested by. They're going to take care of business there. So that's going to be 6-1. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe, is going to catch them slipping. That's going to be 6-2. The Dallas Cowboys, I think they're going to end up splitting. So that's going to be. But I give the Cowboys the first one because it's in Philly. It's in Dallas. So that's what 6-3. The Washington Commanders, I would give 7-3, but I think they catch them later on. The Los Angeles Rams, 8-3. Baltimore Ravens, I think they're going to lose to them. Well, no, they're going to lose to them. So that's 8-4. Carolina Panthers, 9-4. Pittsburgh Steelers, Battle of Pitt, 9-5. The Washington Commanders, 9-6. The Cowboys, this is the one that they get, 10-6. And then the New Jar, 11-6. So 11 wins, 11-6.
I don't look. They were 10-7 last year. I think they're gonna be 10-7 again, and that's not just because of my
That's not
bias
just coming
with the
from a Cowboy
Cowboys.
fan, yeah.
It's just coming from the hype, man. Like it's just coming from the hype. It's overhyped. You know what I'm saying? Like it's overhyped.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I don't know. Like they haven't. Like I just don't see them living up to all the potential, just like they didn't live up to it last year. You know what I'm saying? The expectations was high. Um, um, and I think that 2 years removed from a Super Bowl loss, we see them teams struggle to recover. You know, like they don't have like a lot of them teams don't bounce back from that, and I see that's where the Philadelphia Eagles are right now. So I give them I give them at least another loss in there, somewhere in there. It's probably gonna be a team that's unexpected. Like actually, I think they'll probably lose to the Browns or something. You know,
Mm-hmm.
or the Browns or the Bengals or something like that. Like since they play in the AFC North or whatever. Yeah, I think they'll lose some of those games. At least one of those games to make it 10-7. No knock, yeah, it is a knock against the Eagles, but I just think that they overhyped. They was overhyped last year. It was proven that they was overhyped when you let the season play out, and I think the same thing will happen again.
So of course, like I said, there is a team that is ranked above the Eagles as being the best team in the NFC when it comes to NFL.com's uh, win totals. Of course, and that is the beloved Bang Bang Niner game. They are
Love
expected
it.
to get 11 games as well, but they have an 11.2 win ratio when we talk about that. So we're going to go into that in reference to the 49ers and what their schedule is. And this is being completely unbiased. Of course, that's the only way we can do it here. So off the rip, like we said, we see the New York Jets will be faced off against the 49ers out the gate. Monday Night Football will be our first game on the 9th. That's 6 days before my birthday. So that should be a great birthday gift. And I think the 49ers come out with a 1-0 in that case versus the Jets. I mean, I get it's Aaron Rodgers, but they're not, saying Brees Hall, Garrett. I get it. I understand, but I don't think that's too early for that to be even formatable to even think it's going to be a win. Salah is coming back, will be back. Actually, we go there, they come to us. So Salah will be coming back. So it's not going to be a pretty dub for them. So I give them 1-0 coming out the gate. The Vikings against our Sam Darnold, we just had him, in our own quarterback room. So 2-0. The Los Angeles Rams, I think there's going to be this might be a season where we end up splitting with them. But going to LA, I'll give us a 3-0. I think depending on who we played and who we play around next time we see them is going to determine what we look at a possible split. But right now, based on what we did last year, I give them 3-0. The Patriots is not going to be ready, 4-0. The Cardinals, I'll give 5-0. Actually, you know what? I think I have a different. So that's 5-0. The Seahawks, 6-0. Kansas City Chiefs, although I hate to say it, and they're coming to us. This might be our first loss, 6-1. The Cowboys, 7-1. We're not going to lose back to back. It's just so happened. It could have been flipped either way. I think either way going. If the Cowboys would have been our week 7, then we would have still probably lost to them, and then would have got the Kansas City Chiefs the next week. But it's not flipped like that. So I think we might lose to Kansas City. Like I said, that'll be 6-1. But we defeat the Cowboys the next week at home, 7-1. A bye, then we come back at Tampa Bay, maybe a little rusty, in which we might slip up on that. So I would give the 8-2 in that. Seahawks, I don't foresee us losing to. So that's 9-2. Green Bay, 10-2. Buffalo, we might take a L2. That might be 10-3. Chicago Bears 11-3. The Rams, which I was about to say is I'm going to go revert that. I think this is going to be 12-3. The Dolphins we might lose to, which is going to be 11-4. And then no correction. Yeah, 11-4. I think we get Detroit again in Levi, 12-4. And then actually, I think we might take an L to the Cardinals on week 18 because we done sat everybody down. So that's 12-5, which still gives us the 11 wins. It's just 12-5.
I somewhat agree. I thought you was gonna say y'all was gonna be 13-4 or something like that, which I can see that happening, right? Like, I can see that happening. Y'all have been dominating the NFC, the last few years. Y'all been at the top, so I don't see that changing as far as projections. Like I said, somewhere between that range, 13-4, 12-5, I can see them finishing right there, and um, and I can see like I said, like the path, part of the path to the Super Bowl in the NFC gonna have to go through Levi Stadium again or something like that. But yeah, so I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that 12-5. I'm not mad at that. Ain't much I can say other than a cowboy up this year. like we gotta stop. We gotta stop getting beat up. Like they smack us every time. We can't keep getting smacked every time, Dallas. Wake up.
You know what? That was my first time looking at our schedule. When do we play the Cowboys? I know we play at home. When is that? Let me see. Oh, that's right before Halloween. I'm gonna have to take a little hard comprehension to see if I can pull up in Santa Clara to catch that game, or if I will pull up in Santa Clara to catch that game. Not if. All depend upon what I'm doing in September. It might be a little hard because I have something I have to do in June. I mean in November. So the next one we're gonna cover for this morning is your beloved Dallas Cowboys. So of course, Dallas Cowboys are projected, and don't get mad, I don't shoot the messenger. The Dallas Cowboys per NFL.com is expected to be a 9-win team.
Like I said, we already talked about this, so go ahead. I'm not even
Nine-win
with what
team,
they saying.
which we're gonna see. Like I haven't checked it as 9-win team. So that's which puts them underneath the Rams, the Packers, the Falcons, the Lions, Eagles, and the 49ers. So they're basically with that. It's still saying they're a playoff team. It's just that they're a wild card playoff team at this point. So, but we're gonna take a look at it.
We're a wild card playoff team last year, so it's not.
Yeah, but y'all
Won
wasn't.
the division, but
Y'all was
it
a
was a wild
what?
card.
Fourth? Y'all was no. Y'all was division. Didn't y'all win the division?
Yeah, but we still a wild card. You still
Yeah,
play
because
wild
it's
card
only 1
weekend.
year. Yeah,
Yeah, it's only one bye. So you know, if you ain't
but
that
they
number
have
one
them.
thing in
They
that
don't have
bye,
them. They
you a
don't have
wild
them as
card.
a. They don't have them as a because y'all was number 2, right? Last year, a
Two
second
or three,
seed.
right? Somewhere in there, 2 or 3.
No, y'all was 2, wasn't y'all? Yeah,
I thought
y'all
it
was
was a
2
three
because y'all
seed.
won.
Oh yeah, we was 2 because we ended up playing like a 7 seed
Yeah,
or
y'all
whatever,
beat.
and the
Yeah,
seven seed
y'all
we
beat
got
out
beat by
Philadelphia.
a 7 seed. That's right. Like
It happens. It happens
we
to the
made
best.
history.
Well, it doesn't happen to the best of us. But in any case, so y'all was a second seed, but now they have y'all basically as like a 6 or a 7. So it's definitely a tie his turn, but we're gonna see. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna definitely get into it. So first off, out the gate, September 8th, at Cleveland, y'all got the Browns, in which I think y'all can take care of the Browns. I don't think that defense isn't going to be that vaunted yet. Week 2, y'all got the New Orleans Saints. I'll give that to them. That's 2-0. Week 3, we already discussed. I think that's 2-1 as y'all lose to Baltimore. No, I said Baltimore, y'all beat those 3-0 Baltimore because y'all playing at home. That's the only thing I gave them. 4-0 because y'all get the Giants. Then y'all go to Pittsburgh. I think that's an L. So that's 5. Well, that's 4-1. The Detroit Lions, I don't think y'all going to have. I think Detroit going to be maybe during that time clicking on something. So that might be 4-2. We already said the 49ers you lose to after y'all week 7 bye. So that's 4-3. The Falcons. I'll give y'all 4. 5-3 versus the Falcons. I think y'all going to actually end up splitting with Philadelphia, and y'all playing at home. So that's 6-3. I mean 6-3 at that point for Philly. A rubber band match. A battle for the state on Monday Night Football versus the Houston Texans in Dallas. Oh, that might be a good game to go to. On 11 in November 11-18. Currently got a 6-3. Ooh, in D. It's in Big D. That's the only reason I'll give it because I think Houston might have had the Maki the B, but if it's in Houston, if it's in Houston, I think this is an L. However, it's in Dallas. So I give y'all the segue. So that's 7-3. Okay, that's 7-3. The Commanders at Commanders. I think they might catch y'all slipping. 7-4. New York, 8-4. Cincinnati. I think we talked about this before with the Cincinnati. What was my last one? 13 was 8-4. I said 8-4. I think 9-4. 10-4 with the Carolina Panthers. Against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they might be playing for something, and y'all might be dwindling it down. So I give 10-5. The Eagles 10-6. The Commanders at home 11-6. So that I give y'all 11-6 on the year, which gives y'all 2 more games than what they predicted y'all. What say you?
The last few years we've been 12-5. Regardless of what people been saying, all the hate, oh, we don't look that good on paper, we don't have this, that, whatever. So I'm gonna stick with that. We're gonna go 12-5. We're gonna go 12-5 and we're gonna win a division by 1 game. If the Eagles gonna be 11-6, we're gonna be 12-5. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna win the division again. Like it's gonna be the first time in a long time that somebody in the NFC East won the division twice in a row. I think we're coming out with divisions this year. Like I said, you got the same people. It's gonna be up to the players. I think Michael Parsons gonna up his game. He's gonna finally get into the real defensive player. He's gonna put himself into the defensive player of the year conversation. I think he's gonna be more in his natural positions now that Dan Quinn ain't there to keep moving him around. I think that's gonna help us. I think it's gonna be. I think what we're gonna do is gonna be propelled a lot by our defense, like it's been the last couple of years in the regular season. It's not going to be so much offense. It's going to be more defense. I think bringing Zeke back, which I've heard him referred to as a center at running back and all this other stuff, but I think our short yardage game is going to be better. I think our short yardage game is going to be better than it was last year. So I see us putting up more touchdowns in the red zone, being harder to stop down there in the red zone. And like with Dak being able to run and pass, and with Zeke with the short yardage, like I said, I think that's gonna help us out all the way around. CeeDee Lamb about to get paid, so I started to see it all coming together as that. Yo, we're gonna be 12. We're gonna be 12-5 again.
So, like I said at the beginning of this segment, we talked about was a discussion where we was like that when I said our teams are not the same. So one of the reasons why I set up to say there's going to be a difference for the Chicago
I just want to say this: we are not losing to the Commanders. We do not lose. The Giants and the Commanders, they are not beating us. I'm sorry, that's 4 wins right there. That's guaranteed 4 wins.
I think y'all.
They may beat Philly. They may beat Philly because that happens. But if you look at our track record, we ain't losing to them. Come on, man. We ain't losing to no Commanders.
So I think y'all split with Washington. Y'all split with Philly, and I think y'all sweep the Giants.
The split with Philly, I can see that, but no, we not losing to the Commanders.
Yeah, split with Washington. So one thing I was about to say, right? So y'all get Trayvon Diggs back, right?
Right.
He was he was the defensive player of the year. Was he defensive player of the year before?
No,
or he was a candidate.
Right?
2 years
right?
ago. Or was he the he was a candidate, right?
He led the league in interceptions and stuff, right? Like the years before.
And then last year, so it was year before because it was his
Bland
year.
Last year.
Last year, Bland had the year. So tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me, do you believe that Bland comes back and act the same type of year that he had last year, and that Trayvon is coming back and he's going to have the same type of year he had the year before coming off an injury? So do you think
I
two
don't.
MCs could exist in the same space at the same time? Between those
Yeah, I
two
do.
CB?
I do because like the Legion of Boom, they had those cornerbacks that could play. They had the whole secondary they could play. I mean, you look at you have good cornerbacks all the time playing opposite each other. So I just look at it like that's gonna be all right. But the biggest thing I'm not worried about that. The thing I worry about is um Trayvon's brothers in the state now, so that might them starting to hang out and stuff 4 hours apart, man, that might change a little thing. That might change something in Trayvon, you know what I'm saying? Because his brother up the road now. So I'm not really big on the Trayvon dig having a bounce back. Yeah, I'm not saying he's gonna be a slouch. Um, Quarterbacks are still gonna be scared to throw the ball to his side of the field, but I think they go. I think early on they're gonna test him to see how healthy he is. You know what I mean? Like they gonna go after him. That's why I think our front. I think our front seven is gonna be better this year. Um, Now that we got actual linebackers in the building and we ain't playing safeties at linebackers and stuff, I think, like I said, I think our front seven is gonna make a huge difference this year. On and take some of the pressure off that secondary to have to perform like crazy. Like last year, they was out of their minds. It's gonna be hard to do that when teams got the film on you now.
And I that's one thing I keep on pointing out a lot of times. Like, only you see a few players that there was no field on, and they was, like you said, they play out of their mind, and because no one knew. No, I mean, Brock Purdy was that one player, but he's in this conversation when we talk about, because he came back the next year and it was like had nothing changed from the first year. So you only see a few players every so often that there's no tape on initially, and they do immaculately, and then they come back the next year and it's a little different. Colin Kaepernick was one of those players in a sense. When he did it, I mean, he came out hot, no one could stop him. Then the next year they decided to how they found out how to stop the whole RPO, which and kind of like hobbled him and Robert Griffin and any other mobile quarterback at that point, because they figure out, okay, we're just gonna go ahead and hit them and kind of like stop that. So now coming into it, you have that same type of ability coming now. That's why I think was the Jordan Love effect. No one knew, right? Same thing with Robinson from Atlanta. Saying you seen him for the first time. There's no tape on him outside of college. You don't know what he's gonna do. You know what he did in college. Doesn't mean that's going to come down to be the same thing in the pros. And same thing with CJ Stroud, Puka Nacua. Like all those, we're gonna see how they in their sophomore year, how things turn out now that there's tape. And of course, one thing begets the other. We know, of course, that CJ Stroud was void of having Dale and Tank Dale and Nico Collins. But now he comes back. He has Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and he had Diggs. So we're gonna see how good he really can be when he has a full room. They have isn't what's his name there at running back now from
Mixon, right?
Cincinnati.
They got Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is now in the building. So it's a whole different, like his offense is different. So we might see presumably the same type of performance from CJ Stroud, or maybe he comes back a little bit, because it might be he might be too. They might overcompensate for the all that talent, and then now it doesn't come out to be the same way. But of course, we look at it being maybe the opposite side of the spectrum, where he got more talent. They might throttle some teams and become that new a new powerhouse.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. This is gonna be the scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
Houston gonna probably make the playoffs, right? You can't deny it.
Okay.
The way the AFC looking, but then like I said, they could probably go win the AFC South. Anyway, here's a scenario: second round of the playoffs, they gonna either be against somebody like the Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens or something like this. And here's the scenario: you got one play or one or two plays to make a play, and biggest game of CJ Stroud's career is gonna count on Diggs catching a pass and he drops it. Because he always drop it, people. For real, he drops it. Stephon Diggs drops the ball, costs him the game. And then everybody in Houston is like, yo, why did we get him? Oh, you know how Houston do it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but watch that scenario be very true. Stephon Diggs gonna drop the ball. He always does, people.
And like I said, with that game, the Houston and Dallas game in D-Town, if I know, you know what I'm saying, it's like a split, especially for the most part for your family split between being Houstonians and some of them being Texans, and then you and a couple of your families being Cowboys fans. Would you do a wager that said if the Texans were to be victorious that year, that next year you're cheering specifically for the Texans, and no, you go a whole year with cheering.
No,
You're not doing that?
not gonna hold. No, cowboy up, baby. No, like if I lose a bet, if anything, like I wear a jersey or something a couple of weeks, but a whole season, no, I could not see myself rooting for. No, I couldn't do that to the Cowboys, man. I couldn't do that. Turn my back on the Cowboys like that. No, no. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just throwing that out there that hey, Diggs better change his game, man. Don't you think it's time for him to have an impact in the postseason that's positive though? Like he ain't done that since he was up in Minnesota, and we know that that was like a fluke play, right? Like the guy from New Orleans, he made his bones off a fluke
Lattimore
play where the
failed.
guy from New
Yeah.
Orleans just missed the tackle, right? Just missed the play. He just had to push him out of bounds, and he ducked his head like that. You know, like other than that, he ain't really done nothing in the postseason to help a team win. Like we saw him always yelling at Josh Allen. You think he gonna change? You think he gonna change his ways going down there? At some point, he gonna get mad, and
In
that's
fact,
what he gonna see the stuff on
you go
thing.
from Josh Allen to C.J. Stroud. I mean, it's a little drop off. Would you say? Although C.J.
No,
Stroud is up and coming.
I don't think it's a drop off. I think actually you gonna be fine. Like I think Stroud gonna be one of the better quarterbacks again this year. Like I actually think Stroud gonna be better than Josh Allen. I mean for real.
He
I
has the
think Josh
weapons to do
Allen.
it now.
I think Josh Allen is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I always think he overrated. Like his teams have went absolutely nowhere, and everybody, everybody like, oh, Josh Allen is great. Like like they got him up there with Mahomes and Burrow and Jackson, and you know, I mean, sometimes, I'm gonna keep it real. Sometimes I just wonder how do they how do these quarterbacks get in those spots when Josh Allen really ain't showed you nothing but disappointment every time. In every big game he comes up, like even when they,
Well, you
yeah,
just
come on,
pointed
man,
out. You just
the
pointed out
pandemic year,
Stephon Diggs has hurt him.
dropping passes, right? Like, so it's not all on Josh Allen. All I'm saying is that knowing that him dropping the passes and stuff, it's sort of like to me with the myth that playing up in the frozen tundra is a thing when Green Bay never wins up there. Like Aaron Rodgers always got beat at home, but everybody talking about, oh, it's hard to play. You know, they're like, oh, it's hard to play in the frozen tundra for who? The home team? Because everybody else going up there kicking their behind. That's what Josh Allen is to me. He's a myth, man. Until he proves otherwise, he's a myth.
So, a All-Pro running back has called it quits. So we say All-Pro running back because this running back earned an All-Pro nod during his 8-year career. One time, he got All-Pro and rookie, and he got All-Pro and Pro Bowl, one lone Pro Bowl and one lone All-Pro nod in the same year. Now he has decided to call it quits. This person, of course, is David Johnson. So we all know David Johnson, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. When he had a productive year like that time frame, he wasn't that bad. He wasn't shabby at all. But we blinked and we looked up. I think it was after an injury, he was gone, and no one heard no more from him. So after an 8-year career, David Johnson earned one All-Pro, one rookie, one Pro Bowl nod. Decides to call it quits after 8 seasons, in which we only seen him for what, maybe 3 or 4. So it's I guess it's just one of those things. In 2016, he led the league with 2,100 yards from scrimmage with 20 scores, which is very formidable. He finished third overall in the offseason in the offensive player of the year voting, of course, finishing behind Matty Ice and Aaron Rodgers, of course, quarterbacks again. That year, he finished with 1,239 rushing yards, which was the most rushing yards since Otis Anderson. And then he also was pretty formidable out the backfield, which led to him being a key in the fantasy football realm. But at this point, he's like it's over. He doesn't expect to make any comeback, so I guess he's put in. I guess he's expected to retire as a Cardinal, as that was the team that drafted him in 2015 draft. What did you think about David Johnson during that time frame? Do you even remember him?
Barely, barely. But I do know that he scored like almost 60 touchdowns in his career or whatever, and he ain't played. I know he ain't played in like the last 2 years, so he basically been retired for two. I mean, so just announcing it is one thing, but I mean,
well, I guess you could say official.
Yeah, he just made it official because he ain't really been on. Like he ain't played in 2 years? Yeah, 2 seasons or whatever. I think 2021 was his last season. 2022 or something was his last season. He ain't played. So
he ain't played. Yeah,
but I think he had a decent career. Like you scored that many touchdowns. 60. Almost 60 touchdowns. I think he had 58 in his career or something.
2017 was the last time I think he played.
Yeah, see, well, that's even longer. Like wow, because this is 2024. Try to do the math. Like, nah, that can't be right. 2017.
He left. Yeah, 2000. He had an injury in 2017 that kind of like he dislocated his wrist, and that kind of like put him off. He ended up being traded to the Houston Texans for in 2020 for DeAndre Hopkins. So that's how DeAndre Hopkins ended up in that's how DeAndre Hopkins, yeah. That's how he ended up there. Yeah. So basically
I was just saying, I was just saying, like, hold up. Like he only played 8 seasons, right?
He didn't even play 8 seasons.
But you know what I mean. But he's been associated with the league for 8 seasons, so he retired. Yeah. It's unfortunate when you have to end early, but like that happens, and I'm glad that he's thinking about his health and not going out there risking further injury to himself. But I think he had a decent career. Like I don't see no Hall of Fame in that. Now people gonna be talking. I mean, but these days you never know. I'm just saying, I don't see Hall of Fame in that, but hats off to him. He did have I think he had a good 2-3 year run.
Yeah. So he spent, like I said, going back and like giving the numbers where you could say, okay, like he spent the 2 years with the Texans in which he amounted 1,400 yards from scrimmage, 9 touchdowns in 25 games. He already had amassed 2,000 yards with the Cardinals. He ends his career with 4,000 yards, just over 4,000 yards in rushing with 39 touchdowns. And then just over 2,800 yards with 18 receiving touchdowns. Of course, like I said, close to 60 touchdowns total. So I mean, that's not bad for 6 years. And 2022 was his last. So like I said, 2 years removed from the game. I guess that's not too bad. He's going to get a pension.
Yeah, 6 years. That's not bad at all. His numbers are not bad. I mean, averages. If you go 6 years, he averaged almost 10 touchdowns a season. Like that's pretty good.
I better not see him in no damn Hall of Fame ballots.
Man, stranger things have happened. I'm just saying.
So before we get into
the Hall of Fame now, everybody's in the Hall of Fame now. Let's just face it.
Before we get into the NBA, which I know you're going to have a conversation about, because I guess we use like pew pew, hit and miss. The Cardinals rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. is facing a lawsuit from Fanatics for a breach of contract. So what they're saying is that Marvin Harrison Jr. did not fulfill his contract, which amassed to them losing millions of dollars because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to sign some more game worn gear. He was supposed to sign some cards, some player cards, and along with other marketing tools and stuff like that. Basically, they're saying in breach contract, he doesn't have an actual agent, so he hasn't signed the NFL Players Association group licensing agreement, which doesn't allow for him and doesn't make to where they can make money off his name, image, and likeness. So Fanatics is basically at this point suing him because they say he hasn't fulfilled his end of the bargain. What do you think about that?
I think it's just crazy right now, but hey, he can still fulfill that and get the lawsuit off the table, right? Or is it too late? Like, um, I just think it's like a crazy way to start your career when you start off getting lawsuits, right? Like, but it ain't the first time you heard about that, right? Maybe he go in a different direction. Maybe he don't need, maybe he don't need the Fanatics deal anymore, right? Um, so I look at it like, hey, eh, that'll go away. I'm anxious to see what he gonna do on the field more so than I'm worried about a lawsuit. Hey, I think he gonna ball out. I think Kyler Murray got a weapon.
Which guy give him a little leeway. So switching, transitioning the last couple of few minutes of our show, NBA action is.
Man, I've been waiting to talk about this. Like, man, 30 minutes on this topic. We could have talked 2 hours on this topic. Ooh wee.
NBA. So what we have here is a situation to where two teams entered, and funny enough, this series that started out 2-0 was the only series in which finished 7 with the 7-game push. So what we have is two teams that entered the second round, started the second round with a 2-0 lead. But only one of these two teams came out victorious once it was all said and done. Now, we can sit up and take in consideration that a couple of things happened that led to the demise of one of the two teams, where they had two key players end up going down during the course of the series, that you can definitely see the turn of the tide once that happened. So we'll start with the Pacers, right? The Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. When you look at this, right, we know, as we stated, the New York Knicks came out hot stepping, 0-2, running it up, defending home court, went to Indiana, didn't do as well. Went back home, got a victory, and it was looking like they were going to close business. Went back to Indiana, allowed Indiana to close the series 3-3, and then went home with a possibility of being victorious and earning a berth to face the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, but it didn't go as well. Is it safe to say, in which I said initially, after they lost OG Anunoby, that they were done in the water, or it was going to be hellacious, it's going to be hard, because he was the reason, part of that reason, his two ways abilities, prowess is what put them in position to beat at 2-0. They lose him, and then they start having problems. Then they lose Jalen Brunson in the fourth. And you talked about that. We just talked about that on Friday. If not having Jalen Brunson, what that do? They went a quarter and a half without Jalen Brunson and got smacked by 19 points because he broke his hand in the third quarter. Is it fair to say that was the red to the demise of the New York Knicks, or do you see something else?
No, man. Like, they were undermanned pretty much the series. Hart got injured. I think the Hart injury was they were still competitive without Anunoby. So I mean, it made. I just think all the injuries caught up with them in the end. Like, if you saw the game yesterday, one, it's hard to beat a team that comes out and shoots 80% on you. like in the first half, they shot 79%, almost 80%. It's hard to overcome
67 for the whole game. The NBA record.
That game was over when it started, in my opinion, just because Jalen Brunson came out flat. He came out not making no shots. So it was over in the first quarter because Brunson didn't make shots. Like he was 3 for whatever, 3 for 11, 3 for whatever. He wasn't making shots, and they needed him to make shots. I don't care if DiVincenzo tried to keep him in the game. Certain players, Alex Burks came off the bench and dropped like 29 or whatever he dropped. But you got nothing from Brunson early on, so that game was over. Like Brunson didn't match the energy early on, but it was the Pacers defense, in my opinion, of why he didn't match. Like they were on him. They were forcing him into tougher shots, and you see he didn't have the lift. The Knicks were just tired. They looked gassed. At first, I thought they could make a comeback. Then I was like, even with a comeback, they're gonna fall short because they weren't rebounding like they were. I mean, for the first time, probably they got out rebounded in a game. You know what I mean? Against Indiana, like they've been out rebounding. They weren't on the glass. Hardenstein wasn't on the glass. Hart only had like 4 rebounds, and he's been killing them on the glass. And I think that hurt them. But Halliburton said it best at I think either at halftime or after the game that keeping the Knicks off the glass was huge. Holding them to one shot and being able to rebound and go down on the other end and put the ball in the bucket. Uh, Hats off to Indiana, which, by the way, we knew they could put up this kind of points, right? Like they were one of the highest score, if not the highest scoring team in the NBA all regular season. So, you know, yeah, it's just unfortunate that the Knicks wasn't healthy. Like, but I'm not gonna blame it on his hand. He hurt his hand in the third quarter. That game was over in the first quarter.
So of
My
course
opinion. You know what I'm saying?
The Indiana Pacers, like you said, all 5 of their starters was double digit, 15 points or more, of course, led by Tyrese Halliburton's 26 points, 6 assists and 4 rebounds on the night. Siakam 20 points contribution. Nesmith was 19. Turner contributed with 17, and Newhart contributed with 20. And of course, they got 12 points off the bench from TJ McConnell, who was a plus 21. So of course that goes well with his prowess. On the flip side of it, like you was just saying, yes, Burks did come off the bench 26 points. But besides him, they only got 12 other points off the bench from Precious Achiuwa with 4 points and 8 points from McBride, who has, for the most part, was very serviceable throughout the last series and then some of this one, but it just didn't work
Come
out.
on, Nick. But see, the Knicks, I don't understand these coaches, man. Ananobi
He
was hurt,
played
hurt.
5 minutes.
And you allowed him to start. You allowed him to. That takes the momentum away from McBride, the other people you've been starting. That takes them out of. You know, you don't let them warm up. Like, yo, you got to put a Nobi coming off the bench or something. You can't just. I mean, for real, that flip flop right there, that may have cost them early on in that game. Like the first, he only played like 5 minutes, but those
Yeah, he played
minutes were
5 minutes.
crucial because they was on their head, and you can't get nothing out of a guy limping out there on the defensive end at all. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like you are a liability on defense. I mean, I didn't understand that. Like, why would you even do that? Like, Thibodeau got to go back and he got to look at that. Like, I know, like I said, I know you shorthanded, but come on, man. Sometimes uh, I want to say Barkley said you got to save players from themselves. Sometimes the coaches just got to make smarter decisions, man. Like, you just got to make
And then
smarter decisions.
and all that, of course, like you said, Burks with the 26 point off the bench, but no really help from the bench for the most part. Like I said, I mean, OG Anunoby had 5 points. Actually, he was perfect from the field and from 3 point from and from the field. But it just was, like I said, only paid 5 points, 1 point a minute, basically. Harrison didn't give anything whatsoever. 30 minutes of play, he only shot twice, didn't make a shot, but he did amass 8 rebounds and 2 assists and a steal as well as a block. But of course, who kept him? Hart did play 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. But like you said, a far cry from what usually like a 13 rebound night or anything like that. So that was missed. The only person that really showed up and assumingly gave all that he could potentially was Dante DiVincenzo, which I guess he maybe made you a believer, dropping 39 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals and assists in what was their final game, that game 7. And now they get to go back and take a look at, like, when you look at it, they had a plethora of entries. When you go about Rando, Robinson, I forget, it was a couple of others in which they had, like I said, they did get Hart and Anunoby back, but was it worth it? Did it make any sense? In which at this point, Coach Thibodeau has to live with from this point, and have to basically look at it like back to the drawing board. Of course, there was questions asked of Bronson, in which he said he wasn't satisfied and he didn't believe in any of that. And where it was all said and done, to where he was like, it doesn't. He's not satisfied. He doesn't feel like they did enough to put themselves in any type of position, and it didn't play out in state. So now they go basically his hand is done. So he's not going to be around for he's not going to be able to do anything until probably by the summer. I mean, later on in the summer.
I think it's like we knew the Knicks had to take some games off, like had to get some rest during, while you playing games. And I think it came back to bite them early on, like going, like not being able to be that competitive in Indiana, right? Like um, and having to get that rest. Like, so we knew it was gonna be a tall task, but I just thought with a healthy Bronson they could have pulled it out. But like I said, Brunson shot like trash the early parts of that game, and New York fans, and I feel like they would have had a chance if he would have, would have been able to help them stem the tide with the momentum, because Burks gave him a chance, DiVincenzo gave him a chance, but you needed Bronson to do his part, and he didn't do his part early on. Um, which was sad for because it was a sad day yesterday in Game Sevens for most of the superstars, right? Like for Halliburton, okay, the most impressive part to me of that was Indiana don't really play solid defense, but Miles Turner, man, he was at the rim blocking. Ooh, boy, he was putting pressure on at the rim. He was meeting them up there at the rim too, and he was changing shots, blocking shots. I mean, like I know Miles Turner always been like a decent shot blocker, but man, he like I think that really helped. That really helped with the Knicks going to the rack and him denying them and turning them back. Like, and I was impressed. I was impressed with the defense, a little bit of the defensive effort by Indiana.
So now, of course, with that dub, with the Game 7 victory, that put the Celtics and the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Final, which starts tomorrow, 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. When you look at this, right? Celtics did go ahead and make it. They're still the top team in the league. That's only one of the top teams that's in the league that's still in the playoffs. Do you think the Pacers have a chance?
Yeah, because if you want an offensive series, you gonna see one right here. No knock against either one of these teams, but neither one of these teams really want to play defense. So it's gonna be a lot of shots going up. It's gonna be a lot of offense. Neither one of these teams really want to play deep. You got Drew Holiday. Just because you got Drew Holiday on one team, don't mean that the team overall want to play defense. Like, so I think you could take advantage of some of the matchups, and I think you gonna see a lot of offensive prowess in that series.
Who you get an advantage to in this game, in this series?
The Celtics. I think the Celtics are the better team. With or without Porzingis, I think they the better team. But I think it's gonna go 6 or 7 games, and like Indiana. I mean, Indiana, they gonna score. The Pacers, they gonna put up some numbers on you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at games. You're gonna see games 140 to 130 in this series.
So, of course, the other game that was played just this weekend, the Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets, in which pitted them to where it was interestingly enough, where you had it to where again, like we started off this segment, a team, we talked about how a team basically was up 2-0 going back home, to where they basically dropped 2 at home. Series was tied. Then they dropped a third one. Correction, they got the dub, and then they went and dropped the next game, and now they was able to enact a W in state, but it looked very dismal. Of course, in this game, which the Timberwolves were able to best the defending the champions, the former champ, I mean the last year's champion, Denver Nuggets, by the score of 98-90, in which they had to overcome a 20-point deficit at the half in order to even put themselves in position. You said I was looking at the game, and I just slowly, but every time I looked up and blinked, I was like, "Yo, it's going." It's like it went 11 points, 9 points, 6 points, 4 points, 2 points, point advantage. Minnesota 3 points, 5 points, 6 points, and I was like, at that point, as it got later in the fourth quarter, it realized like there's no coming back at this point. A crucial 3-pointer miss, and then that kind of like put it out and basically put it out of reach. In this game, all 5 8-man rotation. That's all that the Minnesota Timberwolves went with an 8-man rotation. That basically they had 5 starters, all 5 of their starters in double figures. They had 11 points from Naz Reid, who was the 6th man of the year off the bench. For Denver, they only had 2 of their starters in double figures. It just wasn't a game for them. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray both. Nikola Jokic with 34 points, 19 rebounds, and 7 assists on the night. Murray finished 35 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on the night. And then they had they had an 8-man rotation as well, but no help from the bench. Really no help from Gordon or Porter either, finishing with 11 points combined on the night. It just wasn't there for them. It was just too much at the end of it. What was your take on the game?
So this was my take on the game. A tale of 2 games within one. Like, and it's almost like, to me, it's almost like Minnesota. They baited them in the first half or something into believing that, hey, this is Jamal Murray's night, right? Like, for real, Jamal Murray had 24 points in the first half. What did he finish with? Like, for real, he had 24 points in the first half. Same thing with Joker, right? Jokic had, I'm talking rebound wise, Jokic had 14 rebounds or 15 rebounds at halftime. So how many rebounds did they give him in the second half? Like, seriously, they came after him, and the biggest thing to me is Charles Barkley was talking about benching Rudy Gobert at halftime. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, they should bench Gobert because he's a liability. Gobert been taking it in this series. It's been Draymond Green, former Defensive Player of the Year, talking noise. Kendrick Perkins and all them, man, they've been ganging up. You know, Vince Carter and the Jamal Crawford and stuff. They all been saying Gobert was a weak link, but then I think Gobert hit some key shots on the offense. Obviously, his offense helped him out. Like, he hit some key shots and one luck shot, but he hit some key shots.
He did hit one luck shot.
Wasn't that effective at the rim or whatever, and he couldn't hold Jokic. I think the biggest for me, Karl-Anthony Towns, I didn't know he was that good defensively. Like, but his defense on Jokic at certain points in that game really made a difference, right? It was frustrating. You could see Jokic was getting frustrated. I mean, even without Ant-Man having a great game, I think he was like 6 for 24, so he didn't even shoot great. Like, and they were able to pull that comeback off the way that they did. But it was like everybody was chipping in. Everybody on that squad. Naz Reid, when Karl-Anthony Towns picked up his 5th foul and Naz Reid came in, he got some crucial offensive rebounds, and I think they set Jokic up for that. Like, they were just quicker to the ball than Jokic in the second half. And Jokic clearly looked, after a certain point, he looked like he was gassed out there too. Like, he didn't have much left in the tank. And like I said, they took Jamal Murray out of the game. Porter Jr., like you said, Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, they were never really in the game, so to speak. KCP, I mean, I just felt like what Minnesota did in the second half was, man, they locked down, like, they really locked down these other players, not Joker and Murray, but they locked down.
But they put the clamps on. Gordon, Porter, and KCP, like you said, I stand corrected. 16 points between the 3 of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's lockdown. Yeah.
And I got to give Gobert his props for hanging in there. And him after the game addressing that and said he was glad coach didn't listen to Barkley about benching him at halftime. Like, I mean, he played off for the first half. Like, he couldn't keep up, man. It's like, you Defensive Player of the Year. I hope he corrects that moving forward too. You Defensive Player of the Year, but you're not defending the rim at all, and you in the paint. like you there, but you're not defending the rim.
But so now going forth, because we know with this W that puts them to their first game to be Wednesday. Now basically we're gonna get basketball every other night between the 2 conferences with the up into the championship. That puts them up against the Dallas Mavericks, in which the center game is a little bit different in Dallas than what it was in Denver. Probably speaks more to Minnesota having the ability with Lively being the center and mixing Kluber and all that type of stuff. Who has an advantage in your opinion in this series coming in?
Dallas has an advantage to be in this series because you got that veteran experience of Kyrie, right? I don't know if Conley, like it's gonna be different the defensive matchup. So whoever gonna be tasked with trying to hold Kyrie, especially late in the game, I think that's gonna make a difference. I mean, you might have to put Anthony Edwards on Kyrie, right? Like, and then who gonna guard Luca? You know what I mean? But you might have to do some switching of the matchup. Luca hasn't played that well. Think about this: Dallas is winning, and Luca hasn't shot that well in the playoffs since he's been here, and they in the Western Conference Finals. Um, Kyrie didn't have a real good game. Some of those games, like he only had a couple of games. But I'm just saying, so Dallas is living off defense. It's gonna be a good defensive matchup. I'm looking for games uh, either in the mid 90s. I ain't looking, like if a team, the first team to 100, probably gonna win a lot of these games. But I'm just giving a slight edge to Dallas just because I think Kyrie can take it up another notch. And I don't know if um, that team effort that you saw from Minnesota, I don't know if that's going to carry into this next season.
So so one thing that was said, in which if I'm correct, is that um, Kyrie is expected from what he said last night during his post game interview with TNT NBA Inside the NBA. Is that his assignment is going to be Kyrie? That's what Anthony Edwards said. His assignment is Kyrie. So if his assignment is Kyrie, then I wonder, like you said, who's watching Luca?
I mean, is they going with McDaniel's on Luca? I mean,
Is
I'm just
that
saying, like, I'm just saying. But on the other end, though, you do have to worry about who's holding Carl Anthony Towns and what shots are you going to give Carl Anthony Towns? Because if you're going to give him uh, single coverage where he can get to whatever spot he want to get to, then you're gonna be in trouble, right? But if you keep him on the perimeter, I think like the more threes Carl Anthony Towns shoot is a benefit to that.
I don't know.
I mean, he's freaky. He only gonna make some of them in some games. You can live with that. Like he gonna win. You might win one game with him shooting threes. You're not gonna win a bunch of games with him living out there at the 3 point line. So I think that plays into their favor. I think that plays into Dallas's favor. Is when you letting him shoot the three. Plus, like when you saw him yesterday in that mode where he was attacking the rim. You know what I mean? Like he getting to the spots. He backing the smaller defenders down and he able to shoot the turnarounds over you in his comfortable spot, that's where he was killer. Like as long as he was on the perimeter, you stood a chance.
So now we have the tables set like between the conferences finals. You have the Western Conference Finals with like I said, the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then of course Luca there again. Like that's crazy. The second time in 3 years Luca is in the Western Conference Finals.
Which, by the way, the only games I was right about was Friday was that game, right? I was only right about the Dallas Mavericks wrapping that up in 6. Other than that, I picked the Knicks to win in 7, and they lost. You know what I'm saying? And I thought Denver was going to win actually at home, and it looked like they started out like they were on the.
It looked like it was a landslide, like they was going to definitely run with it, and then the tide changes, of course. So seeing Anthony Edwards at this point, I just need even the Western Conference to win or Indiana to win. I need one of those. The 3 teams. I still have 3. I still have 2 chances to stop the Boston Celtics from amassing another championship.
Well, I think I picked like when the postseason started, I had Minnesota. Like maybe they gonna make it to the finals, but I don't know. It's gonna be tough going through Dallas. I mean, I give Minnesota but I think Dallas has the edge as far as the player wise. But Minnesota, that defense, Hey, defense changes things a lot of times like this, so you never know how that's going to pan out. But I think like the Celtics should beat the Pacers, but we, like I said, we've seen them fold before, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics don't even make it to the finals. To be honest. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm cool with
'Cause
that.
we've seen
I
this
think
movie. We've seen this movie before with Tatum and Brown, and you know we've seen it before.
I don't know because sometimes the directors usually tend to surprise later on when after you see the same movie over and over again. You
I mean,
tend to get a
but I'm
surprise.
just saying, like, I mean, like, have we? Is this any different? What's going to make this season any different than before for the Celtics? Other than I mean, White playing real good, but if he gonna keep that up, I mean, is White going to still be firing on all cylinders like he's been firing? And um, when is Porzingis going to be healthy? I'm hearing he going to miss the first 2 games off the rip. So how is that going to affect them putting him back into the rotation when he's healthy? And then you know, um, to be a high powered offense like they have, and you see that they shoot way too many threes at times, and shoot themselves out of games. And then and then when they shoot themselves out of games, they play a lot of 1-on-1. I mean, and everybody just standing around, so it's like, eh, I mean, Indiana gonna put that pressure on them to make them speed up. But like, luckily for them, Indiana is not playing that great of defense. Outside of here and there, Miles Turner, you know, Nimhard being up. I think it's his name, Nimhard being up or whatever.
So you know what? Going back to NFL right quick before we get out of here, in just a few minutes. I didn't realize that Michael Thomas was still unsigned. What do you think the possibility is of him, and which is as I see the rumors and hear the rumors of him putting on the star? Would you be cool with that?
It's not gonna help us when it all comes down to it. This guy ain't been healthy in a long time, man. Um, we just talked about David Johnson retiring. I don't know why Thomas hasn't retired. Excuse me. Like, man, the last 3-4 years, he's not helped the team do anything. Right? He's just taking up roster space with injuries. I don't see that. I don't see him helping us.
So of
I
course,
don't.
this weekend is Memorial Day weekend coming up, and with that being said, that means that the Military Basketball Association is about to embark on the city of Philadelphia to the University of Temple to basically put on with Paramount Sports, CBS Sports and Paramount Veteran Network, the upcoming NBA Championship Series, where 16 teams all get an opportunity to compete for the opportunity to be the NBA's #1 team for the 2023-24 season. So, of course, if you ain't got anything going on in the Memorial Day, you can pull up in Philadelphia, catch that. NLE Chopper is going to be the halftime performance, so you can get a chance to see that. Getting a chance to check out as they have the inductees to the NBA Basketball Hall of Fame. So there's a whole vibe going on down there, is where you can see some of the teams, top teams, CMB, Luke Air Force Base, Herbert Field. It's a Henderson Myers, a bunch of teams that are going to be competing or that's going to be down there taking a look. And if you're a savant at basketball, you can check out some of the talent that's down there. Because as we know, as we get closer and closer in October, we run it back again every year, the All Forces tournament, to where you can see some of that. You have a reemergence is from East Tennessee, as there's a couple of players that haven't played in a while that are back. So there's a lot going on for military basketball at this point. In state after that, running back in July, we're going to have the Battle of the Badges in Orlando. Of course, 16 teams. I'm not sure how many teams, but there's a lot of teams there. I see all the talk where they're saying they're lining them up, putting the best teams against the best teams off the rip, to where you have to fight to get out of your bracket. And it's not about who you meet at the end. It's about how you get there in the beginning. So there's a lot of different lineups. You can see the National Military Basketball Champions, Fort Sam Houston Rangers, JBSA Fort Sam Houston Rangers. They're going to be there. JBLE, who for the majority of the year competed and was the top dog for the majority of the year, they're there. Cannon Air Force Base, I believe everyone talks about the heralded young upstart team in Raleigh. I believe they're going to be there. Of course, it's an open tournament, so people have the opportunity to put together teams and go and compete. So it's a lot going on, and that's going to be going on. That's the 4th of July weekend in Orlando. Who else would like anything better than that? Y'all can check that out. Be sure to hit up even T. Morris or Coach Wayne in reference to even putting the team in or find out what they got going on. So they have a lot going on down there. So military basketball, armed forces athletes is all up from there. Coach, any words before we get up out of here, man?
The NBA playoffs has actually been really good this year, and I always like to end the show with like with the something impactful, right? So we've been talking about impact, like we got the week we've been talking about impact on sports and all this different stuff, and there go that man again, man. So I did a little research, right? And because I wanted to see with this Caitlin Clark news about the sellouts and all that, I wanted to see what
Okay.
the record was, like what the record for basketball in particular, the sellouts and stuff like that, right? And what I discovered was NBA 610 consecutive sellouts over a period of years, and you know what player that was that did that. That's all the Chicago games sold out. Period. Over a 12 year span or whatever, 610 sellout people. Who's gonna match that? You know what I'm saying? LeBron James has played 20 something years and hasn't matched that. Kobe played how many years and didn't match that. What I'm saying is the impact that Caitlin Clark is about to have and what she's doing right now, the record breaking stuff. I'm just wondering how long her streak is gonna go. Because I think the WNBA streak was 21 games or something like that. Well, whatever you said, the Aces got the record right now as far as home games.
15 out of 20 games.
Home games or whatever. So look at that impact of the sold out games and stuff like that. Because that means the money. You know what I'm saying? The impact of that is the money that comes into these organizations and the money that comes into the WNBA. I think that's huge, especially if you're gonna start chartering planes and all this other stuff. Hey, um, so ride that Caitlin Clark wave, no matter how sorry her team is this year. Ride that wave.
And you know what? Just to caveat with that, the funny thing is, I seen the post yesterday that talked about, of course, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark being synonymous with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. But then, of course, they backdoored it with Jordan is on his way too. Of course, that being the beloved USC Trojan, Juju Watkins. Juju, let's get it. Get us a championship, and then we go ahead and ride off into the sunset.
Oh, and I also want to throw this out there before we get out of here real quick. People, stop trying to compare Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. I think the young man could actually be better than Michael Jordan. Just sit back and watch. Watch the show.
He get a chance to first starts off with his continued ascension through have to go through Dallas now, as we said. So we'll be here for it. So of course, it's the beginning of another week. Y'all be sure to be able to enjoy y'all week. Getting ready for this upcoming. I know some of y'all have days off as a Memorial Day, and enjoy. We'll see y'all again on Friday. Peace. We out of here.